Hi there, it's Pride Daily Specials all this week, so let's kick off another A to Z of LGBTQ+. A is for abrosexuality, when a person's sexual identity is fluid. They might fluctuate between all the sexualities, or just some of them. So an abrosexual could be gay for whatever amount of time, then bi, then asexual, for example. B is for the Bingham Cup. It's an international queer rugby tournament named after gay 9/11 hero Mark Bingham. He was an out-and-proud player who died that day, helping prevent a hijacked plane being crashed into the White House or the US Capitol building. The Bingham Cup brings together LGBTQ+ teams from around the world every 2 years. Paul Home was Mark's partner.
Most people before that couldn't have imagined that there would be a strong, powerful gay rugby player that would get up and basically kill the terrorists and crash the plane and save the Capitol. So I think it transformed a lot of people's thinking. I know it did.
Thanks to ESPN, the tournament returns this May in Rome. C is for transgender Muslim TikTok star, Germany's Berfin Celebi. She's got more than 107,000 followers on the platform, using it to start conversations about LGBTQ+ rights and Islam. Berfin works with a mosque in Berlin on school workshops, teaching that the Quran, the central religious text of Islam, is a book that spreads love. D is for Deaf LGBTQ Awareness Week. This has been a thing since 2018, aiming to bring positive visibility to deaf queer people and celebrate the resilience and strength. It particularly targets the young uns, so they don't feel like they're alone. This year's Awareness Week is from April 7th to the 13th. And E is for Brian Epstein, the gay manager of the Beatles. He discovered the band in 1961 in Liverpool and restyled them, ditching their jeans and leather jackets for black and white suits and mop-top hair. Epstein struggled with his homosexuality at a time when it was illegal in England. The band knew their manager was gay, but didn't care. He died from a drug overdose in 1967, aged just 32. Hi there. Our week of Pride Daily Specials continues. Let's get back into our all-new A to Z of LGBTQ+. F is for Flinta.
FLINTA.
Female, lesbian, intersexual, non-binary, trans, and agender.
It stands for a group of people that inside of the queer community has been marginalized.
Thanks to the Lesbian Bar Project. The acronym's used in Germany, where there's a growing Flinta movement. It's meant to be an inclusive term, basically taking in anyone who isn't a cis man, and something that helps to open up safe spaces. G is for Gaydar, the original dating service for gay and bisexual men. It began as a website in 1999, created after a friend told co-founder Henry Badenhorst he was too busy to find a new boyfriend. Went on to become the world's biggest gay dating platform and still exists as an app, though it's long been superseded by Grindr. H is for Australian intersex advocate Bonnie Hart. Growing up with a mix of male and female biological traits in the 1980s, when there was little understanding or information, left her feeling isolated, but it's led her to some big achievements in providing the support she never had. Among them, the creation of counselling service Interlink and her work with organisations including Intersex Human Rights Australia. I is for the Iron Ladies. They were a men's volleyball team made up of gay and transgender players who won the Thailand National Championships in 1996. None of them were selected to play for their country though, because of fears they would harm Thailand's reputation. A film of their story won numerous awards. And J is for drag performer and transgender activist Sir Lady Java. She paved the way for a ban on drag acts in Los Angeles in the 1960s to be overturned, and a decision to live openly back then as a black, gender non-conforming woman is seen as trailblazing. So Lady Java died last November, we think at the age of 82, although no one's quite sure. Hi there. Day 3 in our week of Pride Daily specials as the A to Z of LGBTQ+ continues. K is for America's first out gay elected official, Kathy Kozachenko. She won a seat on a council in Michigan in 1974 at the age of just 21, paving the way for greater LGBTQ+ representation in politics. A statue to recognise her achievement was unveiled there last year. But as Kathy tells WDIV, she feels, compared to other queer trailblazers, she wasn't such a big deal.
There were so many more people who did so much more for lesbian and gay rights. It was their total focus. It was their life. Some of them lost their lives for it.
Queer people remain underrepresented in US politics, accounting for only 0.17% of all elected officials. L is for the last closet. This was a groundbreaking episode of the Inside Track series on Canadian radio, which looked at social and cultural issues in sport. An hour-long special in 1993 focused on homophobia and featured the distorted voices of two prominent Canadian athletes who were gay and closeted. They later came out publicly as boxer Mark Leduc and swimmer Mark Tewksbury, who won silver and gold at the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. M is for Mighty Hoopla. The Queer Inclusive UK Music Festival has been a thing since 2017, championing established and up-and-coming LGBTQ+ performers, and the straights as well. They've still got to earn a crust. It's also just a mahoosive safe space to express yourself. This year's lineup includes Kesha, Loreen, and Jimbo the Drag Clown. N is for non-binary, meaning someone who doesn't identify exclusively as a man or a woman. They might see themselves as both or neither, and this might not be nailed down, it's a fluid thing. Basically, gender for them goes beyond the binary of being either male or female. And O is for Alice Oseman, the author of Heartstopper. Yes, I've shoehorned some Heartstopper in here. The 30-year-old's working on the final volume of a coming-of-age story, which sees boyfriends Nick and Charlie trying to navigate young love. Alice identifies as asexual and aromantic and says this means there's a big focus on friendship in her work as the foundation of everything else. Hi there, our week of Pride Daily specials continues. Let's get back into our all-new A to Z of LGBTQ+. P is for PFLAG, a name in its own right now, but it used to stand for the Parents, Families and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. It's a support organisation that's been around in America since 1973, set up by Jean Manford after she marched with her out gay son Morty in New York at one of the earliest Pride events there, something parents just didn't do back then. New York City Council member Daniel Drom became friends with her following her son's death in 1992 from AIDS-related complications.
Jean Manford is like the Rosa Parks of the gay rights movement. She is the mother to all gay people, but she's particularly the mother to gay people whose parents have rejected them.
Thanks to NPR, Jean Manford was posthumously awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal in 2013 for setting up PFLAG and for her LGBTQ+ advocacy. Q is for the AIDS Memorial Quilt. It first went on display at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. in 1987, made up of 1,920 panels marking the lives lost to the disease. The quilt now has around 50,000 panels dedicated to more than 110,000 people, and it weighs 54 tons. R is for pioneering transgender advocate Mark Rees, who transitioned in the early 1970s in the UK. He took a case to the European Court of Human Rights in 1986 for the right to alter the gender on his birth certificate. That was unsuccessful, but it did sow the seeds of change, which finally came to the UK in 2002. S is for side. It's a new-ish term for gay men who don't want to or can't give or receive when they're engaging in special cuddles. They do everything but, though, if you'll pardon the pun, stuff involving hands and mouths. Side's now an option on dating apps alongside top, bottom and versatile. And T is for the homophobic police raid at Tasty nightclub in Melbourne. 463 people at the LGBTQ+ venue were detained for 7 hours and strip-searched back in 1994. Victoria Police claimed they were searching for drugs. They found aspirin and an asthma inhaler. Off the back of the raid, a group lawsuit cost the force about $6 million. Hi there. We're wrapping up Pride Daily's week of specials. Here's the final part in our latest A to Z of LGBTQ+. U is for Ukraine's queer soldiers. They're fighting on the front line in the war against Russia, but don't have the same rights as their straight comrades. Same-sex marriage isn't legal in Ukraine, so if an LGBTQ+ soldier's killed, their partners have no say in anything and get no support from the state. Rodion tells the BBC his boyfriend Roman died in a missile attack early in the war.
All this death, all this blood, the same. No matter it's heterosexual people or homosexual people, it's the same. I don't want to feel like I'm like one of half citizen. I'm the same human as anyone.
A survey last year showed more than 2/3 of Ukrainians want to see equal rights for queer people. V is for video games. Research from queer advocacy group GLAD says about 1/5 of players are LGBTQ+. Gaming's seen as a great outlet for self-expression, where you can try out different identities, plus it's a means of connecting with other queer people. Unfortunately though, there are of course bedwetting bigots everywhere, and GLAD says alarming levels of anti-LGBTQ+ harassment in gaming need to be addressed. W is for Dr. Ruth Westheimer. The straight-talking sex therapist was a much-needed ally for queer people and those living with AIDS back in the 1980s, when allies were hard to come by. She said, having grown up Jewish in 1930s Germany, she had a sensitivity for people regarded as subhuman. Dr. Ruth had massive success in America on TV, radio, and in print. She died last year, aged 96. X is for the X-Men. Lots of queer characters in the superhero films and books, including Bobby Drake, who's gay, bisexual Kitty Pryde, and Deadpool, who's pansexual. The stories show how people with marginalised identities can navigate their way through life. Y is for Ilka Yazıcı, aka Turkish drag performer Miss Putka. The industrial design student performs at a club in Istanbul and also campaigns for LGBTQ+ rights. Both take a fair bit of courage in Turkey, with widespread homophobia there and a president who calls gay people deviants. As part of the act, Miss Putka shoots fire from her conical breasts. And Z is for neo-pronouns like Z, spelt Z-E-E, and Zia, spelt Z-I-R. They're alternative forms of non-binary terms such as they, them, and they're not actually new, with Z thought to have been coined by a writer back in 1864. You can check out our first A to Z of LGBTQ+. Just scroll back to our Christmas 2023 episodes. I'm Kev McGrath. We're back to normal with all your top LGBTQ+ stories next week.